Councillor Ballin? Can we do voice instead of taps, because we know taps always work?
Sure.
Thank you.
How's it going, Priscilla?
Very good.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Why, hello.
Thank you. Hello. CAO?
Hello.
Solicitor?
I'm here as well.
Councillor Andrew?
Good evening.
All right. Councillor Maxwell?
Present and accounted for.
Excellent. So, did you, in the audience, did you have feedback from each one of the microphones? Okay. And we should get a call on Facebook whether or not that worked. And as long as I have no finger problems up here, we should have no issue. The issue at the last meeting with the CAO's mic was my finger issue, not the CAO's mic. But the podium was the speakers. Exactly, exactly. So how are we doing for time here? Oh, look at that, we got a minute left. Phew. Jason gave us the thumbs up, so Facebook land, we're good to go out there. No complaints tonight. CAO, you have a live mic as well.
Thank you.
No.
No.
Good evening and welcome to the council meeting of the 24th of February 2020. We are using Facebook live streaming on Facebook Live, and there is no live interaction, but you may leave comments. The most up-to-date meeting package is on the Town of Kentville website. This meeting is called to order. Have all of the councillors received and reviewed their meeting packages? Does any member of council have information pertaining to a matter before this council which has not been publicly circulated? I will remind members of council that we are in decision-making mode and we should be mindful of our decision-making wheel. We have committed to making balanced and respectful decisions and adhering to our code of conduct. We will be voting by electronic ballot on all matters except administrative. Are there any conflict of interest issues we should be aware of before the meeting commences? We have regrets from Councillor Savage, dated 22nd of January 2020. Acting CAO Kroll, if you could please take the roll call.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. It's my pleasure to bring you the meeting tonight. All members of council are present, except, as you mentioned before, Councillor Savage. I'm sitting in for CAO Rice, who is away, and she will be back in early March. And I have Recording Secretary Westville to my right and Solicitor Mittart to my left.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we do have a little change tonight. We actually have a public service announcement this evening from the New Horizons Senior Club. Geraldine is their new treasurer, and she's requested a few minutes of our time. As you well know, they're tenants downstairs in the recreation center, and they provide a great service in our town. So Geraldine, I'll ask you to the podium, please.
I should test. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Excellent. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Mayor Snow and council members. I'm Geraldine Hickman, and I'm the new treasurer for the New Horizons Seniors Club, as you said, which is a tenant of yours downstairs in the rec center. The Town of Kentville staff have been terrifically supportive, and we are greatly appreciative of their ongoing guidance as we go forward in 2020. We are a 35-year-old club for seniors who meet weekly at the rec center in Kentville, and we are part of the New Horizons Clubs of Nova Scotia. There are in total 5 clubs here in Kings County, between Wolfville, Kentville, Canning, and a couple of other locations. In total, throughout the province, there are probably more like about 20 of these New Horizon clubs. We all pay dues to it, and we try to send a representative each year to their annual meeting in late April, which is held in Truro. So we have 39 members, males, females, and we are always wanting to increase our membership. We've put one-liners in various publications which offer free publicity. This has not actually been too productive, and we are therefore approaching you with the hope that you might consider the group interesting enough to help us publicize our aims and objectives, We endeavor to provide a cheerful environment in which both male and female senior members can interact with each other. The current age range is approximately 70 years to about 90 years, the women being the elder. We are all trying to remain active and involved socially. The ongoing programs that are offered are cards, carpet bowling, art group, and bingo. We have started a walking group who will meet at least once weekly, depending on weather, of course. The other groups meet regularly once a week for an afternoon and have a fun time socializing. The new program of walking, will start very soon, and all are welcome to join us. So we'll just come by and you can just put on your sneaks and come with us. It is always a struggle to keep these organizations financially viable, and that is why we are applying for a grant from the Kentville Council. We thank you today for letting us speak to you tonight, and we hope to hear from you in the near future. I also meant to introduce our president, Ellen Debsey.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, both of you, for coming out this evening. And as you were in today to speak to Jennifer, you probably got the lowdown on our social media and the STORM team and how they can assist you with anything that you need pushed out there on social media.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, right back to our normally scheduled meeting. So you have before you a proposed agenda. At this point, we have one deletion due to a legal matter, and that would be item 4C, Kentville Business Park Covenants. So we will not be dealing with that business this evening. That's 4C. If you could delete that from your agenda. And if I could have a motion. Thank you. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. You have before you the minutes of the January 27th, 2020 council meeting have been distributed. Are there any errors or omissions in the minutes? No errors. The minutes are approved as distributed. And we'll move right on to our unfinished business. Our first matter is appointment of the returning officer.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. The CAO, Kelly Rice, submitted this report to Council. It's regarding the appointment of the returning officer. Under Origin, she speaks the municipal units in Nova Scotia will hold elections for the position of Mayor and Council in October of 2020. The town of Kentville is required to officially appoint a returning officer who will coordinate and manage the election process. Under discussion, she indicates that she would like to appoint Mr. Al Kingsbury as the returning officer for the town, as he has extensive experience in the election systems in Kentville. And her recommendation reads that Council appoint Mr. Al Kingsbury as the town of Kentville returning officer.
If I could have someone move that. Thank you. And a seconder. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that Council approve the appointment of Al Kingsbury as the returning officer for the 2020 municipal election in the town of Kentville. Is there any discussion? Councillor Ballin, please.
Thank you, Worship. I support the nomination. However, I'm looking for a lot more stringent controls and observation at this upcoming election compared to last year. Okay. Last year there were signs that were kind of irregular, signs that were placed in places that probably shouldn't have been, and then some maybe problems at the ballot as far as residents that weren't actual address owners in the town, etc. So
okay,
I'm just going to raise those concerns.
Very good. Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. I support it is, but it says none under budget implication. I assume that somebody's paying for it.
We always pay for an election, but that's not in this budget. It'll be in the next budget, and typically
it's built in the budget.
It's built in our budget.
But whatever the cost is, shouldn't that be in? If we're making
no, because he has no cost. It's not him that costs. It's running the election that costs.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Nope. Perfect. Thank you. Yep.
Okay. Councillor Andrew.
I was wondering, just related to that, if at some point we can have a discussion around signs in general. It's been a discussion across the country. And
I believe that the CAO has it on the agenda for the March CAC.
Okay.
I saw
All right.
she received something from you, and I believe also from Councillor Bolland. So it is scheduled for March.
Beautiful.
If
Thank
that's
you.
satisfactory to both of you.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Is there any further discussion? So the question is that Council approve the appointment of Al Kingsbury as the returning officer to the 2020 municipal election in the town of Kentville. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. And our next piece of business is the Culkin Building price adjustment.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Lindsay Young, the CEDC officer for the town of Kentville, submitted a report to the Chief Administrative Officer in January of 2020 regarding the recommendation to reduce the price of the Culkin Building, which has been for sale for a number of times. She has listed some background as to where the price started off at, $330,000. It was reduced to $298,000 May 28th, 2019, and after a total of 303 days on the market, there have been 19 showings in total. She mentions under point for discussions the reasons why the recommendation for reducing the price has come forward. She has attached the historical operating and capital costs in a table to council in the January meeting, but she has a recommendation that reads that the list price on the Culkin Building at 2 Webster be reduced to $250,000 in order to expedite the sale of the property, and further, that should the Culkin Building remain on the market beyond March 31st, 2020, that council approve a budget allocation for the hiring of a professional property management company to take over the operation of the property until it does sell. And that was respectfully submitted by Ms. Young in January.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Just wait, we need a motion on the table before
sorry.
before you start. So if we could have a motion, council approve the reduction of the list price on the Culkin Building at 2 Webster to $250,000 in order to expedite the sale of the property, and further, that should the Culkin Building remain on the market beyond March 31st, 2020, that council approve a budget allocation for hiring a professional property management company to take over the operation of the property until it does sell. Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that council approve the reduction of the list price on the Culkin Building at 2 Webster to $250,000 in order to expedite the sale of the property, and further, that should the Culkin Building remain on the market beyond March 31st, 2020, that council approve a budget allocation for hiring a professional property management company to take over the operation of the property until it does sell. And now, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Since we had and I believe it was an in-camera discussion about reducing the price of this, there's been a building on that block that is smaller than the building we own. Granted, it's in a little better shape than the building that the town owns, and it sold for twice what, actually a little bit over twice what we're looking at reducing it for. There's a building across the street that is a quarter the size that sold for just under $200,000. So I know that the town is not supposed to sell things less than value, and you can deem the value in different ways, but to reduce this building to $250,000, I for one would find it hard to look at the residents in their face and tell them how I justify making that reduction. The building has not been on the market. Has it been on the market for a year? Just over a year? Right around a year? Yeah. No, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? There's one thing that Lindsay asked me to pass on to you is the fact that anything that is currently ongoing will the price drop would not occur until anything that is currently ongoing are completed. So there was a couple of viewings over the weekend, and until those transactions are completed, you would not see a price drop. Are you ready for the question? Oh, Councillor Maxwell.
Yes, I have the same concerns as Councillor Girard. The building that Councillor Girard refers to that is selling for, twice the amount that we're looking at also doesn't have an elevator to their top floor as well. So just to make that point clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Andrew.
Just it's hard to determine. I know a lot of work has been done to this property, and I think there's a lot of good things that can be said about it at this point. But the access is one part, but the potential lack of usability of the upstairs would be one of the reasons that I would be inclined to be happy to get rid of it. I think it could be a good investment for someone, but at some point, someone's going to have to figure out what to do with that big empty space up there. And
Exactly.
I don't think we have a solution for that yet at this point.
No. And that is what has, I'm going to say, preempted this through our listing agents is coming back with the feedback as to the usability of that entire building. So are you ready for the question? The question is that council approve the reduction of the list price on the Culkin building at 2 Webster Street to $250,000 in order to expedite the sale of the property, and further that should the Culkin building remain on the market beyond March 31st, 2020, that council approve a budget allocation for the hiring of a professional property management company to take over the operation of the property until it does sell. I don't think that was it. Voting is now open. And voting is now closed. And it's a tie vote, so it is defeated. The motion is defeated. So that means that we will be approving a budget allocation for the hiring of a professional management company should this not sell. All right, moving on, and Councillor Bolland, you are doing.
Okay, marathon session about to begin. Thank you,
Yes.
Worship. Sundry account receivable write-offs. At the February 10th, 2020 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Director Kroll presented her report outlining the need to write off a sundry receivable account in the amount of $563.94, which has been outstanding since September 2018. The account has been sent to the External Collection Agency. That Council Advisory Committee recommend for approval of the write-off of the sundry receivable account as attached in the amount of $563.94. I so move.
Thank you. Seconder? Second. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the write-off of the sundry receivable account as attached in the amount of $563.94. Is there any discussion? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. I hate writing these things off, especially when it comes from a billion-dollar multinational company, and when the excuse for writing it off is they have no record of the car accident. I'm not going to ask for any more information on that. Obviously, there was a car accident, and some money exchanged hands, but apparently we didn't get the 563, or sorry, not 563, but the total was 563.94. That includes interest. I won't be supporting this. You know, if it was something that happened and it was a citizen that didn't have the money, that's one thing. But to write off something from a big insurance company that says we can't find record of it, I won't be supporting this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? The question is that council approve the write-off of the sundry receivable account as attached in the amount of $563.94. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion fails. All right.
Withdrawal Equipment Reserve Draw Number 1. At the February 10th, 2020 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Director Kroll presented her report outlining the need to withdraw funds from the town's capital equipment reserve to support the purchases of various equipment. These purchases require a resolution of council to withdraw funds. That Council Advisory Committee recommended for approval the withdrawal of $31,945.53 from the Town of Kentville Capital Equipment Reserve to partially fund the 2019-2020 transportation equipment acquisitions to the February 24th, 2020 Council meeting, and I so move.
Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that Council approve the withdrawal of $31,945.53 from the Town of Kentville Capital Equipment Reserve to partially fund 2019-2020 transportation equipment acquisitions. Is there any discussion? The question is that Council approve the withdrawal of $31,945.53 from the Town of Kentville Capital Equipment Reserve to partially fund the 2019-2020 transportation equipment acquisitions. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you.
Withdrawal Capital Reserve. At the February 10th, 2020 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Director Kroll presented a report outlining the need to withdraw funds from the town's capital reserve to support several projects. Several projects are complete or partially complete and require a resolution of council to withdraw funds. That Council Advisory Committee recommended for approval the withdrawal of $299,898.48 from the following reserves. Number 1, Town of Kentville Capital Reserve, General Allocation, $232,000, $232,054.20. Town of Capital Reserve Recreation, $67,844.28. To partially fund several capital acquisitions and one addition during the year 2019-2020, and I so move.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that Council approve the withdrawal of $299,898.48 from the following reserves. Number 1, Town of Kentville Capital Reserve General Allocation, $232,054.20. Number 2, Town of Kentville Capital Reserve Recreation, $67,844.28 to partially fund several capital acquisitions and one addition during the year of 2019-2020. Deputy Mayor.
Just a quick question. The total of $297,225.13. The dike extension was canceled, which makes it $299,898. Does that? So we still need the
$299,898.48.
So where's the and it's not a very large amount. Where's the $26,43.35 for the dike extension that was canceled going?
It's going to, we've expended the money. We have to recover the money from reserves because the project was canceled. So we have to capitalize that portion that was spent.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions? The question is that Council approve the withdrawal of $299,898.48 from the following reserves. Number 1, Town of Kentville Capital Reserve General Allocation at $232,054.20. Number 2, Town of Kentville Capital Reserve Recreation, $67,844.28 to partially fund several capital acquisitions during the 2019-2020 budget. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you.
Tax exemption section 69, 2020, 2021. At the February 10th, 2020 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Director Kroll presented a report on partial tax exemptions to property owners meeting certain requirements. Council must pass a resolution annually setting the maximum exemption and the income ceiling. In general, the town sets the income ceiling to the maximum old age security and guaranteed income supplement, GIS, paid to a married couple. The Council Advisory Committee recommended for approval of the resolution for low-income tax exemption for the 2020-2021 year at the February 24th, 2020 Council meeting. Exemption amount $256 to $544. Income ceiling $27,619. And the deadline for applications is June 30th, 2020. And I so move.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that Council approve the resolution for low-income tax exemption for the 2020-2021 year. Exemption amount $256 to $544. Income ceiling $27,619. Deadlines for application June 30th, 2020. Is there any discussion? Question? The question is that Council approve the resolution for low-income tax exemption for the 2020-2021 year. Exemption amounts $256 to $544. The income ceiling is set at $27,619, and the deadline for applications is June 30th, 2020. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you.
Approval for pickup trucks. At the February 10th, 2020 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Director Bell presented the recommendation for tendering the purchase of 2 pickup trucks at $80,000 from the 2020-2021 budget. That Council Advisory Committee recommended for approval $80,000 for purchase of 2 pickup trucks in fiscal 2020-2021 for tenders in early March and payment in April on delivery. And I so move.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that Council approve $80,000 for the purchase of 2 pickup trucks in the fiscal 2020-2021 budget for tendering in early March and payment in April on vehicle delivery. Is there any discussion? The question is on the adoption of the motion to approve $80,000 for the purchase of 2 pickup trucks in fiscal 2020-2021 budget for tendering in early March and payment in April on vehicle delivery. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you.
Street closure, Crescent Avenue. At the February 10th, 2020 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Director Gentleman presented her report outlining the need to close a portion of Crescent Avenue to facilitate renovations and changes to property lines at the site. A policy was developed that facilitates the permanent closure of a portion of the street. That Council Advisory Committee recommended for approval the attached policy to close a portion of Crescent Avenue. And I so move.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that Council approve the attached policy to close a portion of Crescent Avenue. Solicitor, do you want to add something to that, please?
Yes, I did. I was speaking with Director Gentleman earlier today, and she confirmed that an ad was in the paper last Thursday, I believe it was, notifying the public of Council's intent to consider this motion here this evening. And also she confirmed that the neighbor to the south who has access to their home across this portion of Crescent Avenue that's proposed to be closed, that neighbor has been contacted by both Ms. Gentleman's office as well, she understands, as the folks from the Curling Club. I just told her I would bring that to your attention here this evening.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the attached policy to close a portion of Crescent Avenue. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you.
Approval of street names, McDougall Heights. At the February 10th, 2020 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Director Gentleman presented a report describing the street names proposed by Parsons Development for the McDougall Heights community, according to Policy Statement G67, Recognition of Community Contributions. That Council Advisory Committee recommended for approval the proposed street names, Mount Allison Place and Mount Vincent Drive, for the McDougall Heights community to be approved at the February 24th, 2020 Council meeting, and I so move.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that Council approve the proposed street names Mount Allison Place and Mount Vincent Drive for the McDougall Heights community. Is there any discussion? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the proposed street names Mount Allison Place and Mount Vincent Drive for the McDougall Heights community. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried.
Kentville Business Community Special Projects Request. At the February 10th, 2020 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Mayor Snow reviewed the report submitted by the Kentville Business Community outlining the request for the remaining $4,909 of the town's 2019-2020 special project funding for this organization. That Council Advisory Committee recommended for approval the allocation of the remaining $4,909 of the 2019-2020 budget special projects funding to KBC to procure a portable stage to the February 24th, 2020 Council meeting, and I so move.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that Council approve the allocation of the remaining $4,909 of the 2019-2020 budget special project funding to KBC to procure a portable stage. Is there any discussion? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the allocation of the remaining $4,909 of the 2019-2020 budget special project funding to KBC to procure a portable stage. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And motion is carried. Thank you.
The final motion of the evening, anti-violence in the workplace. So the origin at the February 10th, 2020 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, CAO Kelly Rice introduced a draft policy titled, quote, anti-violence in the workplace, end quote, which is required by provincial law in every workplace and will support a safe work environment for staff and council. Council Advisory Committee passed a motion to recommend this policy for approval at the February 24th, 2020 meeting of Council. The recommendation reads, Council Advisory Committee recommends approval of the attached violence in the workplace policy to the February 24th, 2020 meeting of Council, and I so move.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that Council approve the attached anti-violence in the workplace policy G72. Is there any discussion? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the attached anti-violence in the workplace policy G72. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is our reports and our recommendations. And our first report is Councillor Andrew.
All right. I'm not going to submit reports regularly until I sort out a few issues.
Okay.
I'm finding that to do an honest and true report would include things that are mostly just divisive. So I will report on my respective committees, which would be Joint Fire Service, Transit, and more recently accessibility. So those three areas, and then we can have a discussion perhaps about how I don't like writing things down and not being thorough and honest, and I would do that easier. I'll start with joint fire service. We had election of chair and vice chair. Those things stay the same. So Councillor Raven, Kings County is chair and vice chair. We anticipate an area rate increase. Obviously, no meeting call. We have our discussion here. Some of those things, but it's always interesting having our own different role at the meetings because we have a high level of confidence that we know how she does business, and high level of confidence that things look the way they should. Discussion around adjustments to budget, requiring an accounting, not accounting in a different sense, for inflation. That the numbers around the fire service have kind of been consistent and based on that municipal partnership, but have not accounted necessarily for increases over the years. So there was I would say, a bit of a convoluted conversation in which there was an attempt to articulate that. That seems like a strange way to look at a budget, to think of it in terms of incorporating that. I think you just look at the budget and the needs. But anyway, so that was an extensive conversation. Perhaps Director Carroll can comment better than I can. But it does go without saying that our fire service is falling behind in some ways, and I think there's been a high level of stewardship under our current chief, and trying to keep things responsible. But there's also a fresh emphasis on making sure that our firefighters have the right equipment and the right training, and that requires a little bit of investment, perhaps that beyond what it had been as of late. There is a new truck needing replacing, and we had a lot of discussion about that. We have a 20-year-old truck near the end of its life. We had lots of, we all want to save money, so we all talked about refurbishment. The requirements on these trucks are so high that it actually becomes impossible at some point to refurbish these trucks. So, and you start talking about fire trucks, all geared up with everything, and you're talking close to, I think at the end of the day, I think we talked with taxes about $950,000, and that'd be a 10-year loan. Anyway, thank you to our volunteers who make it possible for us to have a fire service. Amazing. Did you want me to move on to King's Transit?
Sure.
Okay. King's Transit has ordered 3 9.75 meter buses, and some may recall that there was some funding that came through Community Culture and Heritage, that department provincially, and those buses take about a year, and in the meantime we've received a supplement to the fleet of some older Halifax buses. They're older, but they're newer than what we have. There's always a lot of discussion with us, how do we move this forward and make it a more modern service? Part of that is, what about electric buses and all those things? The problem with all that is, without a really cohesive, extensive plan, you're talking about a lot more investment to create the infrastructure needed to make that happen. I think in the future, probably transit is going to have to be far more efficient, but it's not. And I'll expand on that, and I'll look for you to tell me what I can say and can't say about some thinking around that, because there is strategy being worked on around a transportation study, but also some work on micro transport. And I'm not sure if this was reported on last before Christmas, but the vote that Acadia did on the UPass did fail. I think it was about 30% in favor. Councillor Hodges did a lot of work to try to pave the way for that. It would have potentially paved the way for a further relationship with our community colleges, and quite disappointing because I think it had a chance to breathe some new life in it, but still a very important service. I don't know how much, because I'm going to be stepping into Councillor Pulsford's territory, but there are some concerns about our partners in Kings County had put forward some requirements to continue their level of investment in Kings Point to Point, and Kings Point to Point has opted to not cooperate with that process, and as a result, I would say I believe it's still in question as to whether those. So people may not realize that whereas Kings Transit is municipal owned, I mean, we're partners. They are owned by the partners. Kings Point to Point is independent. It's a not-for-profit, does great things, but there's an attempt here to try to create some a broader cooperation so that we can have a more extensive, public transport. However, right now things don't look great there, and so I'm not sure if Kings Point to Point is gearing up how they might exist without Kings County funding, or if those requirements are not met or adhered to, whether Kentville is going to look at our partnership, because I don't think that what's been asked of Kings Point to Point is unreasonable. Some of that was about efficiencies as well, like space sharing and efficiencies and building efficiencies through cooperation. And then really exciting good news, and I can't even explain how exciting it is. This accessibility community is so positive. It's so good. This is an opportunity for us to make our town, which is great, but make it better, make it more inviting, welcoming, and accessible to all. And so I think Councillor Pulsford would agree, because she's on that committee as well. It's just really fun. So I expect, and I think I'm right in saying that at our next CAC that we have some things that will be presented before council to kind of start that group in motion. So then that group will then be bringing forward recommendations moving forward, and those are recommendations not to. They will require probably some financial input by the town, but it's not. It's actually mandated. We actually have to do it. But it's the neat thing about it. It doesn't feel like, even though the province has said these things need to happen, it very much feels like we've got a group there that really want to advance some of these things. And so I think if you like Kentville now, you're going to like it a lot more in the years to come partly because of this.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councillor Pulsford, before we move on, did you want to speak to the Kings Point to Point, or did you want me to handle that one?
Well, Councillor Andrew, we, as Kings Point to Point board, did meet, and there was discussion regarding the proposed draft agreement put forward to us by the County of Kings. There were certain parts of that draft agreement that we have agreed to investigate the possibilities of moving forward with some of those proposals that they have put forward to us. That was, passed at our meeting, and we certainly have not said no, we are not going to cooperate. We have indicated that we will investigate the proposals put forward. There needs to be discussion and review of the different options that were presented to us, and that's where it stands now. We have not said we are not going to cooperate, so I just want to make that clear.
Thank you. Okay. All right, thank you. Moving on, Councillor Boland, your turn.
Oh, thank your worship. Date of last council meeting attended January 27th, 2020. Last CAC February 10th. February 19th, Valley Waste Resource Management. My good colleague to my right, Deputy Mayor, is our alternate, attended for me. Same day, Water Commission. Speed notes about that down below. Kentville event attendance, February 14th, Valentine's Day, Flag Day celebrations. That was held downstairs. Great cake, great attendance, and some good wearing of different types of hats. February 15th, I dropped into Russell Ferris's casual retirement function at the arena. Again, I've been hanging around the arena since the 70s as a kid on a biking to Kentville, look at the hockey games, etc. And anyway, good chats and discussions with Russell, and I certainly salute him for spending 40 years serving our town and our citizens, and looking after the ice surface, etc. So good for Russell, good for us. January 31st, I attended the Welcoming New Medical Professionals to the Valley event over at the Maritime Express, and again, that was well attended. A great celebration and some good forward movement on this. And certainly, the more that we are involved in this at any level, the better. And it was well attended. Again, there were mayors there from Annapolis Royal and Middleton for that event. So, Underwater Commission, just a few items. We met February 19th, as I said, so a few bullets. New provincial lead testing mandates the testing of 40 sites in Kentville to measure the level of lead contamination, so that's something that's coming. Kentville has no measurable lead in the source or the treated water and has no known delivery pipes in our infrastructure. However, the testing must still occur at properties in the town. Again, more information on this is forthcoming, so something new. We had 3 new residential water customers hook up with us and 1 new commercial customer. We're connected in January. And after many years of contributing to the town in various capacities, including Director of Engineering and Public Works, Hal Henderson has retired as our citizen appointee. And that's my report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Last council meeting was January 27th, last CAC, February 10th. January 23rd, NSAPG. The NSAPG is going to start doing a review of the Police Act, especially as it pertains to police governance. We will start lobbying DOJ for updated training for boards. Met with Kelly on February 13th regarding the Kentville Police Service collective agreement. Nothing having to do with anything having to do with the agreement, just basically to get some timelines of, because I think we're very close to being 1 year out of date for that agreement. February 19th, Valley Waste Resource Management. The 2020-2021 draft budget will be coming to council. The status of Sustain is concerning. That was supposed to be up and running a year ago last October, and I think maybe that was even when it was given leeway to. And there was discussion on, because we have such a large liability at the Chester landfill, we have to keep up to date that they're doing everything that they're supposed to be doing with the Department of the Environment and all the governance around landfills. February 19th, Kentville Water Commission. We got updated financials, discussion of the school board water testing and water testing in general for the town. We also discussed the well pump updates. January 27th, I attended the strategic workshop. February 13th, Board of Police Commission. Police budget at the time of the meeting was 67.5, and we were 75%. So we're very good on the budget. This week, probably there will be a self-evaluation going out to the police chief, which all the members have a copy of to see. I put it out to all the members just to see if they wanted to have any input or any variance on the questions. We also have taken it upon ourselves to review and hopefully put in policy the dangerous and unsightly bylaw, because as it stands now, we just use what the MGA says. So I asked Lindsay about getting a copy of what Council, KBC, did on the questionnaire. So that's also gone out to all the commissioners. That, and hopefully with the help of Harlan, who was our new dangerous and unsightly bylaws guy, we can sit down and get something formed. This would ensure that the property owners of the town know that we're taking a proactive approach to ensuring all property owners will be encouraged to take care of their property. I think I attached the report, maybe not. And 2 smoking tickets were issued by the bylaws guy, and those are $400+. So you don't want to get caught smoking in downtown Kentville. That is my report.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Bolland.
Thank you, Worship. Just a side note on Valley Waste, everybody's received an email. There's a joint council meeting in Berwick. It feels like the second week of March, so please take the time to attend that meeting in Berwick so you can get fully engaged and know about our budget. So mark that in your calendar, check your emails. And I'm glad to see we're trying to get something going on dangerous unsightly.
Okay, thank you. Everyone's got to get the report. You're editorializing now. Yeah, but that was on his committees. Councillor Maxwell.
Okay, yes, thank you. Date of the last council meeting, January 27th, last council advisory meeting, February 10th. Committee meetings I attended, January 30th, the Annapolis Valley Trails, and I'll report on that in a bit. February 13th was the Police Commission, and Chair Gerard has reported on that. February 18th, I attended the KCA PTA, and I will give a report on that. Took part in the National Flag Day. Kudos to Ashley and Kentville Recreation for a wonderful celebration of our flag. Great cake and hot beverages were also a big hit, as well as the hats. So, yeah. February 15th, I attended the retirement celebration for Russell Ferris. Kudos to Kevin Bennett and the rink crew for a great send-off for 40 years of service by Russell. And always nice to see someone being honored for many, many years of service. So really pleased to see that. KCA PTA, the movie Screenagers will be shown at the Main Street Inn Ballroom on April the 30th. The movie takes about an hour, so from 7 to 8 p.m. And following that will be a panel discussion that will last another hour, so from 8 to 9 p.m. Spring Fling dates have been set for June 10th, and the rain date is June the 11th, so you might want to write those dates down to come out and help the kids and the staff celebrate spring. The dance club that was very popular last year will run again this year, most likely in and around May. Their budget is very healthy, and that group continues to amaze with their coordination and so on. Annapolis Valley Trails meeting, January 30th. The Trail Coalition received a grant from CCH, and they will hire a trail coordinator for the Western Loop. So the development of the Western Loop, so from Annapolis down to Digby, that area is starting to be developed. Office space for this new trail coordinator will be provided in Kentville, and there will also be an office in the South Shore. An advisory committee will be formed and work plans will be developed. Halifax Regional Municipality is looking at the setup of the Annapolis Valley Trail Coalition in the hopes of setting up the same type of coalition in HRM. There is a plan developed for the Blue Route, which is also known as the Great Trail, as part of their active transportation through Halifax. So they have developed, I think, the route through Halifax, which is good. NovaScotiaConnect.ca is the website to use to access trail routes across the province, including the Harvest Moon Trail. Our own destination trail website, with in conjunction with three groups, the Harvest Moon Trailways, Rum Runners on the South Shore, and the Celtic Shores Trail, is under construction, and it will be connected with the NovaScotiaConnect.ca site, so you will be able to access the Harvest Moon Trail and Destination Trail from that site. The Nova Scotia Trail Conference is October 28th, 29th, and 30th at the Louis Millet Center in New Minas. And on February 15th, I dropped into the robotics competition at Acadia, where a young team of KCA students were taking part, and they excelled in their age group competition. They placed third, but were asked to apply to the prestigious International Robotics Competition. So there was one aspect of their competition that was super amazing. And so for that reason, they were asked to go to this International Robotics Competition. So I'm sure that we want to wish the boys from KCA and their coaches all the best if they become accepted at that. So that's my report.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councillor Pulsifer.
Thank you.
Last council meeting attended January 27th and last CAC February the 10th. On January 23rd, I attended the Accessibility Advisory Committee. This was the first meeting held with the committee comprised of 6 citizens, Director Beddingfield, Jennifer, 2 councillors, myself and Councillor Andrew. The purpose of the new committee is to advise council and to help the town of Kentville to become a barrier-free community and ensure the obligations that fall under an act respecting accessibility in Nova Scotia 2017 are met. Kings Point to Point on the 28th of January, details to follow. Annapolis Valley Regional Library on February the 3rd. That was a budget meeting. February the 4th, Kings Point to Point. The board met for a strategic discussion on a proposed draft agreement that was presented to us by County of Kings. And that same night, following our strategic discussion in camera, we went on to have a monthly meeting and just regular discussion took place on the various points of the agenda that night. February 19th, the Water Commission, Engineer Bell gave his financial and operations report, and we've also had the 2 other councillors give their report, so I won't go over them all again. So February the 20th was the second Accessibility Advisory Committee, and this one was held at Kings Riverside Court. There was discussion concerning the Human Rights Act and disabilities, how that plays in it, and how to move forward with a plan by April the 1st of 2021. The committee needs to prioritize areas and time frames. It was decided to meet monthly for a while, and we're going to try to have a speaker come to our meetings, which I think, hopefully that will add a little bit of, I guess, more understanding to this whole, accessibility and disability project. So we have 2 meetings already under our belt. February the 20th, Annapolis Valley Regional Library Board meeting. There was discussion of the operating budget and the possible provincial funding to libraries prior to April the 1st of this year. We also talked about the operations of the libraries and the bookmobile services. Also brought up was the Accessibility Act, and public libraries were discussed as they fall underneath that Accessibility Act. Coming up, there will be a joint regional accessibility plan workshop in April. Next meeting, April 16th in Berwick Town Hall. January 31st, I attended the doctor's celebration at Main Street Station, and we celebrated 10 new doctors that have come to the Valley. The committee meeting with Kings Point to Point, that was January the 28th. We had an in-camera meeting, and that was held to review the draft agreement that we were to send to the County of Kings. Following the in-camera, the manager presented a statement of operations and the proposed 2021 operating budget. Kings Point to Point had a 13% increase in ridership in 2019, providing nearly 27,000 trips. Growth from 2017 to 2019 has been 40%. An additional 3 drivers and an office staff person were hired and trained this past year. Thanks to the increase in funding to the Provincial Capital Program, Kings Point to Point was approved for the maximum funding available for 2 new 8-passenger vans this year. Kings Point to Point ridership consists of 22% wheelchair clients. I just wanted to make note that we have presented the draft agreement back to the County of Kings as requested, and there was a few minor changes to the wording. I guess I would indicate we will look into and we will investigate the proposals that were put forth
by the County of Kings, just so that we all have input into what's being proposed. If the agreement that has been presented, by the county, if that is not signed by both parties, it means that the county will put funding to Kings Point to Point into a grant situation and not a line item, which is where we exist at the moment. We are guaranteed a certain amount. So anyway, we are, Kings Point to Point is certainly willing to work with and look into the different, several different options that were presented to us. I attended Flag Day on February the 14th, and we had cake and coffee and wore hats and so on. It was a fun little time. That's my report.
Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor.
I just have a quick question, sort of on Councillor Pulsar and Councillor Andrew. Could we, or maybe I'm just the only one interested in it, get a copy of the inter-municipal services agreement between the town and the county for King's Transit?
I'm sure we can.
Okay.
I have no idea where it is, but.
Okay.
There are 4 partners in the King's Transit,
King's...
so I'm not sure there should be on the numbered documents, but I don't think it's been pulled for years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to my report. So same council meetings, advisory meetings. On the 23rd of January, I had a meeting with Mayor Matart with regards to the county sewer receivables, and basically they wanted some changes made to our request for binding arbitration, which were not issues at all. It was just some minor wording changes, and so it's sitting with the lawyers at this point in time. The 23rd of January, there was a Valley Wren board meeting, which I attended, and there was a presentation by Kate Seaman and that group, and they're now calling themselves the Valley Convention Center tomorrow. And anyway, they made a great presentation and lots of interest at that meeting for that. From a membership perspective, we received a letter from the region of Windsor West Hants. So they will go down to a single municipality, which means they will pay one of the flat fees, and so we're basically $7,500 out because of that. But we continue to look at what the REN is doing. 27th of January was Council's strategic planning session. On the 29th of Jan, I had a teleconference for Municipal Finance Committee board meeting, and we were talking about the 2020 business plan and the 2020 borrowing plan for municipalities. The Valley Wren LOC meeting, I'll have more details of that as we move down. On the 12th of Feb, our Investment Advisory Committee, so at the 10th of Feb, our portfolio value was $14,389,055. Not too shabby. Again, I had another Municipal Finance Corp meeting. Again, this one was a telecom due to weather. We've got one member in Cape Breton, so if there's weather issues, we just do it via telephone. 19th of Feb was Water Commission, and you've heard most of the story on that. 23rd of Jan, I had an interview with Ian Fairclough. People are very interested in what's going on in Kentville, so everybody wants to hear about it, and Ian was actually writing a 2-part series on that. The 28th of Jan, I had the pleasure of sitting down with the Flower Cart Group. They are starting their capital campaign. And they were doing a branding exercise, and it was really an excellent opportunity. If you ever get the opportunity to sit down and do a branding exercise with any group, it's one of those great moments. 31st of January was celebrating working together, and again, we welcomed 10 new doctors, but in total 12 new family medicine practitioners. So of those 12, 2 were also nurse practitioners, which is absolutely incredible. And I must tell you that 2 of the doctors had 3 babies between them, a set of twins and another newborn. So it's absolutely wonderful to see these young doctors with their families coming here, and they're not only setting up their practices, but they're also setting up their family and their homes. So it's really wonderful. The 3rd of Feb, Kings County held the African Heritage Month declaration and celebration. Another really excellent event to attend. 5th of Feb, I had a doctor visit with a doctor from the UK. His family is actually living in Edmonton because he was part of a group that was supposed to go to Alberta, but something fell through with that. So now he's looking at Nova Scotia, which is absolutely wonderful. And his son, who's going into university, is looking at Acadia. So that was a real bonus as well. On the 7th of Feb, had another doctor, and they had recently completed their residency and were looking to establish in the Valley. So again, really great news. The same day, I got to go over to the Main Street Station and welcome another new business, the Healing Station. And again, they're offering massage, acupuncture, and other healing options. Just a beautiful, beautiful site in there. 11th of Feb, we traveled to Greenwood in kind of sketchy weather, but nonetheless, it was one of those great evenings where everything Valley is on celebration, and we truly celebrated some excellent businesses. And the really nice thing about this event is that it's the People Choice. I'm going to call it the People Choice Awards. Because businesses are nominated and then we vote on them online, and as a voter you get 5 votes and that sort of thing. So it's really great because it truly is. I'm going to call it a popularity contest, but also you can see the growth in these businesses. So we've got another incredible thing. You've all heard of the Ivany report, and you know, that's been kind of, it's not been sitting on the shelf, but they've been doing things with it, and there's a dashboard, but it's kind of, everyone has been saying, what's next? Well, what's next is REAP. It's called Regional Entrepreneurial Acceleration Program, and it's all about building a thriving economy. As we well know here in Kentville, entrepreneurs and small business are really what are driving our economy, and our provincial government realizes that, and they're putting quite a bit of horsepower on it. So as you see this REAP, and if you want to become involved, then I would say you know, make it happen, because it's really worth your time. 14th of Feb, we did Kentville Flag Day. Yes, it was a day early, but this way we got to stand out in the cold, and it was one of the coldest days of February, I have to say. And then the next day, we got to say farewell to Russell Ferris over at the arena. 40 years, holy crap, man! That's incredible and totally wonderful. Russell was talking about how he had to come in on Monday, so we celebrated him on Saturday, and he was talking about how he had to come in on Monday to bring his keys in. He couldn't just leave his keys that night. He had to come in and do the official hand back of his keys. So, you know, just a dedicated employee. On the 19th of Feb, oh my God, got to hear Tarek Haddad of Peace by Chocolate speak at NSCC King's Tech. He was absolutely amazing. He spoke for an hour. He took 3 minutes out so that we could watch a video, and he took 2 swigs of water, and he never stopped. And I have to say that he was totally amazing and very, very inspirational. I think those students that were sitting in the audience, there was 3 different campuses there, and you know, he told them that success is on the other side of fear, and that they just have to make it happen. So it was just one of those events that if you ever get the opportunity to hear him speak, go. He's well worth your 1 hour of a day. 25th of January, the Wren board had a retreat up at the Main Street Station, and again, we were just looking forward to what to bring to the Wren and how to continue to grow the economy in this area. 31st of January, the Wren held a business expo at the Louis Millet Center. There were 33 businesses set up and over 100 attendees. And it was funny because I was talking to the business owners, and several of them said that they couldn't believe there were still people that they didn't know in the Valley, despite having been here for as long as what they had. And so they really enjoyed these networking opportunities. And that was one of the things that I had asked Tarek when we were at NSCC was, as government, as politicians, what can we do to help entrepreneurs? And he said, providing opportunities for them to network is very important. On the 6th of Feb, I went to Halifax for a Status of Women dinner with Minister Reagan and Coral Ross, who is a counselor in Australia, but she's also has a Churchill scholarship, and so she is traveling around to different parts of the world and learning how they do politics. On the 10th of Feb, we drove up to New Glasgow for the announcement by the local MP and the Minister of Seniors and the mayors of New Glasgow and Truro and Kentville for the Mentoring Plus funding announcement. So the Valley Wren LOC meeting, unfortunately, we did not have a quorum, so we could not conduct business. However, we did submit our reports, and we managed to task the CAOs to review the budget for our next meeting. And Water Commission, well, you've already heard everything with regards to that. Miscellaneous events, just a few meetings. And another good news is CEED are going to be doing their Juniorpreneur Camp here in Kentville again. And they're actually going to be launching a new camp for 15 to 18-year-olds, because at this point, their camp is for 8 to 14-year-olds, and typically they've had nothing. But the Kentville camp is so successful that they are actually going to launch their older kids camp here in Kentville this summer, the first week of July. So very, very exciting news. And that is my report. If we could have a motion to accept the reports as presented. Thank you. Thank you. You get those? Okay. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to our correspondence.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. The Epilepsy Association of the Maritimes, or EAM, has sent a request. They're reaching out to all municipal units in the Maritime provinces to support Purple Day, which is on March the 26th. They're asking for every municipality to wear a purple ribbon throughout the month of March. They'll be supplying those, and they are asking that it be worn at our monthly March council meetings, and especially on March the 26th, which is the official day for Purple Day. So that is the request. I believe it's a request that comes forward every year, and they need to have information on how many purple ribbons we require, and they would like to have a photo of council with the purple ribbons so they can post it on their website.
Excellent. Thank you. We've done this previously, so we would probably still have our purple ribbon in our drawer. And we'll send them off a listing of how many purple ribbons we need. All right, we have no new business. Public comments. The floor is now open to the public. Please state your name and address, subject matter. You will have 10 minutes. And that's gone. We have no in camera. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. If I could have a motion to adjourn, please. Thank you. And the second, thank you. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. And it is 2011. Thank you very much.